Ayn Rand created an entire political, look at that, dude. You got the shirt, dude. Galt Taggart, 2020. Is it really? Oh, that's good, man. I almost put up on my Instagram the other day, who is John Galt and nothing else. Because if you read the book, it's like now. You're like, how did she know? Okay. But it was a story. Look, if she wrote her political philosophy she's written political philosophy books. If she wrote it in 1,100 pages, I wouldn't read for 50 pages. I already know what her philosophy is. I agree with some of it, not all of it, just so you know. Okay. But when you read the story, you're like, ooh, I could get into this because it's a story. Okay. So good. Let's do one more on Zoom and then we'll get ready. I got a couple things to teach you real quick and then we're going to wrap it up. All right. What's up, Linda?
There.
You got something on the bottom of your camera, though, like blocking you or something. Is it paper or something?
No, it's my fog machine.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. What are you doing, like Blue Man Group in the breaks and stuff? All right, go ahead. Laser light show. The answer to can Linda fog a mirror? Okay. So, yeah, I'm sorry. That's it. That's all the jokes I got. I'm out. Good.
So my work is like my favorite teacher to work with. Her name is Wendy. So they're 40-ish. They are great teachers. They're instructional leaders in their schools. They have influence with the administration. And they're creative. They've always been great with hands-on and discussion and group collaboration, problem-based learning. Their instruction was always engaging and rigorous, and differentiated. But now they've lost their mojo and they know they're not engaging kids on their Zoom classes and they're really struggling to find answers. And they have always invested in their own PD. So they're looking for things that, are going to help them with their instruction. Where they are right now is in Facebook groups trying to get help from each other. And I think they're also out there searching YouTube, looking for how-to videos. And what they really want is secretly, they wish things would go back to so-called normal, but they know that's not going to happen anytime soon. And they really want to be back at the top of their game. They want to feel effective again. They want to be that favorite teacher that all the kids love. And they want to feel like they're the experts again, the go-to person in the building. And what they perceive is in their way is distance learning, all the restrictions that are put on them. They are forced to use tools that they're not familiar with. And there's so much uncertainty from their administration, from their state. They're just really not sure what's going to happen when they go back to school yet. And that they also perceive that technology is just way too hard and difficult for them to deal with.
So what did Linda just write? What's that? She just wrote her sales letter. Like, Linda, go back to the recording. We're going to put the recording of this in the membership site when we're done. Go back to the recording of this and take this thing and transcribe it. And you literally just wrote, like, the level, she did a great job with that, by the way. If you listen to the psychology, the getting lost your mojo, here's what they really want secretly, but this is what they're frustrated about. They just want to go back to the way things were. Why can't we just go back to the way things were? What the heck? I just want to be in my room with my students again. Why can't we do that? And by the way, a lot of the schools right now, as you know, a lot of the schools are planning on doing virtual school next year, or both, or a little bit of both, like a hybrid school. Like, some of the kids go in. I mean, I know some parents who are like, this thing is a big joke. Why can't my kids be in school? And I know some parents who are like, I will not send my kids back to school. They're across the board. So how do you work in a school system where everybody disagrees that much on everything? I mean, there's one group of people who are like, you're not even doing your job. And there's another group of people who are like, you're endangering civilization if you go out of your house. Have you ever read any of those posts, by the way? People are like, you're endangering the world. I'm like, so you're going to like to drive a car ever? Because that's dangerous too, you know? And I'm not saying that the thing isn't important. It's important, but we got to think clearly about the fact that, like, we live in a fallen world where people actually die sometimes. But how are you supposed to explain that to a school system that's trying to figure out how to serve 100 different parents with 100 different opinions? And so the way that she described her market is excellent. She did a very, very good job of that. So congratulations, Linda. That's a good student right there, man. All right, so really quickly, I'm going to do my slides real quick. I got a couple things to teach you on what we just did. And some of you have heard me talk about some of this stuff before, but this is, I was on a show with Michael Haig. Some of you know Michael is my storytelling coach. We were talking about this concept of the hero. The hero story started with Joseph Campbell. If you haven't read Joseph Campbell's work, he talks about the growth and development of a hero, okay? And the hero is a person who starts out in their story as, frankly, somebody really normal, okay? So you woke up this morning at your hotel or at your house here in Dallas, and you thought to yourself, I'm heading off to this event, and you probably didn't think, gosh, when I get out of the hotel today, I'm going to have like all this press around me and all these people follow me everywhere, and I hope I can find my limousine, but maybe they'll just pull a limousine right up to the hotel and I'll get in because I don't want to do any more interviews today. Okay, you probably didn't think that. Maybe a couple of years from now, you might be thinking that. Okay, but at some point, the hero wakes up in the morning as a very regular person. But guess what? You're the hero in this story. And what happens to a hero is something like what happened to you this morning when we did an exercise and I said, what's your mission in the world? All of a sudden, it was like something like caught a little fire. And I'm sure you felt it, like something inside of you was like, oh, man, I haven't thought about that for a little while. And then like that fire kind of started to blossom just a little bit. That was that call to adventure. A great hero, if you listen to read, listen, or watch great stories, every movie that you love, the hero, I'm going to show you some examples. The hero starts out regular person. You start the movie and Luke Skywalker is just like farming water or whatever he was farming in Tatooine. Okay, right, with the igloo in the desert thing that he was living in, Uncle Owen. He's like, Uncle Owen, I want to go to Starfleet Academy next year. He's like, no, not after this one, after the next harvest. Luke's like, geez, why can't I get off this thing? He's a regular person. He's not a regular person. He happens to be the son of Darth Vader, for crying out loud. That's a significant person. I'm sorry if I just, yeah. Did you watch you haven't gotten through the first movie, so sorry about that. I know. Never mind. You watch it tonight. So anyway, where was I before I so really interrupted myself? Luke Skywalker, normal person. But you know what? There's that, remember like at the beginning of Star Wars, Luke's up on the top. He's like looking out over the desert and the music starts. And you and I both know, even when you watch it for the first time, you and I both know, okay, something's about to happen here. Dudes, I guarantee you it's not 2 hours of filming, watching Luke farm water on the desert. Something is going to happen. And you knew that something was going to happen, which is something always happens. The enemy shows up. That's the world that we live in. You think that you're going to get your marketing? Look, if you are truly destined to change the world, like I believe you are, I can guarantee you're going to have resistance. And the bigger your mission, the bigger your resistance, you better just get used to it. Okay? There's a reason why all those movies move you so much. Because that's your story. When you watch Luke Skywalker, when you watch Katniss Everdeen or Neo from The Matrix or The Hobbits, that is actually a story about you. That's the reason why you like it so much. Because there is an enemy. Sometimes the enemy is actually real people. Sometimes the enemy is spiritual forces that you're fighting against. Sometimes it's just inertia. Sometimes it's just people aren't paying attention. Sometimes people are just hypnotized into the world that they're in, but there's some resistance that you come up against. And it's at this moment in your life that a guide or a mentor shows up. All of a sudden, you find a book that really helps you overcome something, or you come to an event like this one where you're like, dang, gone it, finally, I'm just going to do it. I don't care what anybody says. I'm finally going to do it. Some of you this morning made that decision. You're like, I don't care what it costs me. I'm going to make it happen. I knew that was the case for me, man. One time I was talking about this mission I've got, and I couldn't even say it without I was so emotional. I'm like, man, in that moment, you stepped over the threshold and left Tatooine. Okay? That's when the guide shows up, the mentor. After that comes the part where you can't win. Every great movie, every great story, the story comes to a part where you're like, I don't know how I was going to do it, but somehow, you know how many times Tony Stark in Iron Man has gotten killed? You're like, that's it. He's dead. Iron Man's dead. Like the last movie, I'm like, he's not dead. There's no way that guy's dead. Because he's never dead. Okay, because in every great story, it looks like the thing's over. And then all of a sudden, at the very end, what happens? You win. Faith, can you grab me that last sign way, way, way down there at the end? It says the word hero on it. Now, I just told you about your story. when you walked in today, the very first sign that met you along the way, thank you, sweetheart, was this one right here. What does that say? Make your customers the hero in their own story. So I did a coaching session with Michael Haig, and Michael said, hey, I want you to create a story. You're going to write the story, and then I'm going to tell you how to improve it. And the thing that I love about Michael Haig is he does not, I told him this, by the way, Michael Haig doesn't do what I call I love you sandwiches. You know what I love you sandwiches? You know what you do with your wife? You're like, if you want to like improve something, you're like, I love you. Here's the improvement. I love you. Okay, that's what I do with my clients. I'm like, first of all, this is a really good start. If I say to you, it's a really good start, that's all I could find. Okay, that's it. so I'm like, hey, first of all, really good start. All right. I always say something. Michael Haig, Michael has no I love you. He's like, so this is only like 2.5 years ago. Okay. So I'm like, hey, Michael, here's my story. And I did the whole story. And there was like this long pause. And he goes, okay. That's the first thing he said. Okay. I'm like, bring the thing where you tell me how great I am. You know, I was expecting him to be like, Ed, I've never heard a story like this. And I've worked with Hollywood screenwriters in some of the best movies in the world, and you're better than that. Like, I thought that was going to come out. And I think he said that in a different way. No, he goes, okay. So that was a story about you. Is exactly what he said. It was actually, I was talking about a client. He goes, it was actually about you. And Michael said, your story, here's what he said. He goes, your story sounded like this. The client was having some trouble. Then Ed showed up. Then there was no trouble. And I said, well, that's what happened. And he said, yeah, but that's not a story. I said, well, that's my story. He goes, that's not a good story. And I go, but I like the story that way. They had trouble. I told them to fix it. And then they fixed it. See, that's how it works with me. And he goes, I know, but that's not how it works in a real story. He said, in a real story, see, the person's the hero. In your story, you were the hero. I'm like, can we have two heroes in the story? No. He said, you can't have two heroes in the story. You have to have one hero. And the hero is your client. And he said, you're the guide. When you show up and you help the person, but you don't solve the problem for them. Who solves the problem for them? They do, because that's what a hero does. So for example, in the movie Star Wars, there's Luke looking out over the thing, right? Who's the hero? Luke. Who's the guide? Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's kind of there some of the time, but also kind of not there. You know, he gets sliced through with the thing. And then later on, he's like, take off your targeting computer. Like, he shows up every once in a while, but he's not there all the time. He's not like, move the airplane to the left, now to the right, now to the up, to the down. Okay? Because your clients, the folks you work with, they don't need you there all the time. They need you there when you need them to be there. And then you let them live their story. Matrix. Neo grabbing the red pill, which is like a really common meme right now, by the way, for some reason. So who's the guide? Remember the guide? Morpheus. He's there. But remember, there's a point at which Neo's like better at Kung Fu. And then he takes off and then starts flying like I'm supposed to do. Okay? Another story. How about this one? Katniss. Remember Katniss Everdeen? Remember her guide? Who was that? Remember it was that drunk guy? Haymitch, who couldn't stop drinking? But he had a little bit of help to give her along the way. But truly, it ended up being her story. Some of you remember this little story too. There's your hero, Frodo Baggins, for crying out loud, little hobbit. Who's the guide? Gandalf. Did you know that the greatest part of the story, I'm telling you, the best, if you haven't read the books, go read the books. Because at the end of the third book, in the movie, at the end of the movie, it just ends like the king's the king and then everybody lives happily ever after. In the third book, the hobbits go back. And when they get to the edge of the Shire, Gandalf says, so see ya, and leaves. And then they have to actually fight for the Shire at the end of the third book. And the truth of the whole Lord of the Rings story is actually in the last part of the last book, when the heroes don't have the wizard around anymore to do his wizard thing with the staff and all that stuff. And the hobbits need to come into their own adventure and actually do their own thing at the end of their story. So the truth is, who's the hero in your story? You. Who's the hero in your marketing? That's right. That's your market. Okay. Now, are you going to talk about you in your marketing from time to time? Bill, are you going to talk about you in your marketing from time to time?
My story?
Yeah, you're going to tell your story. Because your story is about who?
Me and what they can do.
There you go. So your story, Bill's story, is about the person reading the story. Now they're going to read his story like it's his story, but in the middle of the story, you know what they're going to say? The 3 most powerful words in marketing. You know what those words are? That's for me. When you communicate, someone should respond by going, that's for me. So, rewind. Everything that you see at this event is simultaneously teaching and meta teaching. What I mean by meta teaching is we're demonstrating the thing that we're teaching you to do. So in the beginning of today, I told you a story. You remember the story? Out of control flight. Ed's in his airplane, falls down. He's got the procedure. He does the procedure, saves the airplane. That's a story about who? You. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you were flying the airplane today. Because at the end of the story, what did I tell you? World changed. World just uploaded its new software. What do you got to do? Got to fix your own software. And you're like, yep, I'm going to fix my own software. That's why I'm here. That story was about you. First exercise, mission was about you. Second exercise, smart market questions, still about you. Still about you. Still about you. So your marketing, we're going to get transitioned quickly into how to actually take this and turn it into marketing. But fundamentally, your marketing is creating incredible heroes because everybody wakes up in the morning to be the hero in whose story? Your story, in their story. Nobody woke up this morning thinking, gosh, I just gotta make somebody else a hero in my story. Nope. Now they might want you to become the hero, but you're the what? You're the guide. I had a client, one of my clients, she came to the coaching day, like most of my clients do, one-on-one day. Right after the day, she's like, hey, I got a question for you. And I answered the question. Second, like 2 days later, she's like, hey, I got another question for you. I answered the question. Third day, she's like, hey, I got a question for you. You know what I said to her? I said, you know what to do. Now, why did I do that? Wait, she paid me a lot of money to coach. What's up with that? Yeah, I was trying to shirk my responsibilities. Why do you think I said, you know what to do? Because what was happening is all of a sudden, instead of me being her guide, she wanted me to be the hero. I just want you to tell me everything to do. And at some point, she did know what to do. I just said, you know what to do. And 3 weeks later, she sent me an email with all exclamation points. Thank you so much. You pushed me out of the nest. This is exactly what I needed. Okay, because sometimes you need a coach who can give you the answers, and sometimes you need a coach. Now it's time to go fly. You with me on that? If you are, say hoorah. Hoorah! Oh, I love it. That's our background. All right, really quickly. Marquetta, is Jonathan still here? Or did he leave? Yeah, just come on. You guys come up here real quick. I want to introduce two of my favorite people in the world. Come on, like surprise. So even though, is he gone? Oh, okay. I'm going to introduce my favorite person in the world then instead of my two favorite people. So she's going to get double. That's all. All right. So while he comes up here. Anybody, Delisa, I should just ask you this really quickly. Anything we should know? Any chat comments or anything? I know chat's kind of blown up today, but we're all good. You all good watching right now? We can see everybody on the screen. It's so very cool. All right. So this is truly what you're observing this over the next 3 days is truly a team effort. I wasn't joking when I told you there's plenty of things that I'm not an expert at. I'm going to teach you the things I know really well. And you got some good stuff this morning. You glad you got through that stuff? Yeah, if you are, say hoorah. All right. And then my other trainers are going to come in and teach as well. Okay. So here's the way it works at my events. It may not work at other events that you do. I know a lot of speakers who come in, speak, and then they're on their way out. When people come to my events, in fact, I do this when I go, like, for example, you saw me at Jonathan's event, right? When I come in to teach an event, same with my trainers, they come in and they're here. So Marquetta's teaching this afternoon, Jonathan's teaching this afternoon, but they're here, okay? And I'll tell you, you don't get an opportunity to get the kind of help from somebody like this outside of an event like this, okay? So make sure that you take advantage. If you're on chat to ask questions, we're going to do Q&A at the end of each day. If you're here live, you're welcome to come up, grab a picture or say hello. It really is intended to be this nice, unique audience. I'm going to introduce both of them this afternoon when we actually do the actual thing, but make sure you take advantage of them being here, and then also make fun of Jonathan for not being here when I brought him up on the stage. All right. So I don't know. We didn't give you a microphone, but we'll bring you back up in a little bit. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Just give Marquetta a round of applause. She's amazing. And I will do a more detailed introduction of her, but I just want to let you know that that resource is available to you as well. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take lunch. If you're watching on Zoom, you're welcome to just do whatever you want for the next hour and a half. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a 1 hour and 20-minute lunch break. That's going to be more than enough time. Here in the Dallas area, there's plenty of places to eat. What's the place I went to breakfast? What's that place called? Chop Shop, Original Chop Shop. You get it? If you want to go there, look, there's like, in like a 5-mile radius, there's only like 100 places to eat. My recommendation is like, don't roll into like Morton's or Fleming's where it's going to take you forever to eat. Get in, get your food, eat, and come on back. Okay? Come back and plan on being